Hi, I'm Mark Wilson, the engineering heretic, and today I have an alternator from my BMW. I have three BMWs. They all take the same. It's an E46 318i, and I have a 323 Ci Coupe, and they all take the same alternator. And one of them, a couple of weeks ago, the light was coming on from the charging light, and as usual, the issue was what I thought it was. The issue was the brushes on the alternator, and I've removed that and swapped it up. I already had one that was already fixed up from before, but this time I sort of thought I'd point out how to fix these alternators rather quickly. The bearings themselves on the alternator, this is a quick fix. This is not a total fix here. The bearings are fine. Everything else appears to be okay. It will remain to be seen whether or not the alternator is the issue, but there's a couple of giveaways that will tell you that the alternator was the brushes that were the issue. Now, I've pulled apart this. There's a cover that goes over this here. The brushes run in on these two little rotor things here. I am not going to machine these. I'm just going to replace the brushes and chuck the whole thing back together again. I won't have the car long enough for this to be an issue down the track. I just want a spare alternator in case one of them goes in a couple of years' time, or even in maybe 6 months' time or so. I'm not going to have these cars anyway. I'm going to get out of BMWs, buy myself a new car, and just go get that service, which is a little bit of a letdown for me, but that's just life. I have other things like my workshop and things like that. Working on clocks and things like that as things that I want to do, and they're getting in the way. These cars are getting in the way of that. Now, well, as I said before, I pulled apart this before, and I said there's a couple of things that will tell you what was the problem with this. And if you look here, you'll see on the brushes there, these brushes are severely worn down. But one of them is nice and shiny, which means that was making contact. But this one here is dull, and that's been arcing up, and of course that's what's let go. And what happens is, over time, there's a wire soldered in the back here and a spring, and eventually these brushes wear down so much that they lose contact. This one still was in contact, but this one here had lost contact with the rotor, and of course no longer makes contact. Of course it no longer charges, and therefore the light comes on. So what I'm going to do is replace just these brushes here and put the thing back together again, and have it as spare, so that if this happens again I can just quickly swap these over and replace them. Now what I need to do is unsolder the back of this here, and that will let the little wire go, and I'll show you how that's done. Right, so now I've got this just held lightly in a vise here. The brushes are here. There's a solder bit on the back of this. So all I need to do is get a soldering iron. That one's quite hot at the moment, and melt the solder, and that will allow this to come out. Probably I'll need to cut this off a little bit with some pliers. Sometimes it requires a little bit of manipulation. I think there might be a little tab on the top of that might stop it from coming off. We'll cut those off and see how that goes after that. Try that again. So that comes off quite easily. There's the spring, and we'll try and remove the other one. There we go, that comes off. No problem at all. And remove that spring as well. Right, now what I need to do is clean up the back of this to get that hole visible again. I just want to scrape this solder off. to expose the hole that should be visible there, because I have to get the new brushes through there. What I may have to do is drill through from the other side to allow that to happen. Let's have a little look see on the back here. If I can see down that hole there. Oh, I can see a bit of a hole there. I'll drill through from the back and that should be alright. And obviously that connects up with those little tabs there. I think I can see through there. Well, what I had to do off camera was actually, there's a little tube here. It was actually rather exposed. All I had to do was shove something round down there through there, and that basically opened up the hole. So now I've got to thread the original one, the new ones through with the spring, and hold them back here somewhere, and then solder them up so that they now make contact. That shouldn't be too hard. Now I have some new brushes here. Let's just zoom back a bit. Okay, I have some new brushes here. And what I'm going to do you can see the difference between the old ones and the new ones. That's the old one, and this is, of course, is the new one, and you can see the difference there. So what I need to do is, with the spring over this one here, feed that through and hold that back in position so that the spring and everything works. So now what I have to do is feed that through. So I need some wire. Rightio. Now what I've done is I've fed through a piece of fine copper wire with a loop on the end of it. So now what I've done is I've got my new brush here with its spring, with the spring on, and what I'm going to do, hopefully, is pull that through that hole, feed that through here, find the end of this, hold that, feed that through that hole there, that loop, feed that through the loop. Okay, and then drag that through there. Whoops, that didn't work. Give another go. I'll have to put more through the loop, I think. More of it through there. Loop that back here. And pull that through here. That should pull through the hole. Hopefully. There we go. That's through there. Right. Now let that out far enough that the spring is going to act around, it's about there somewhere, sticking out way further than it was last time. And then I'm just going to crimp over this to hold that there, and I'll just solder it on afterwards. Okay, that one's crimped over, and I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Here we go again. Fold that over. Considerable amount. Pull this through. About the right spot. Put that back there and give this one a bit of a crimp. Right, now it's just a matter of soldering up the the back again and restoring that to some semblance of normal. There we go. And I'll just trim that off. Right, now we have two new brushes there with plenty of spring on them, so that will fix that issue. Now it's just a matter of putting it back together again. So now it's just a matter of putting this back together again. There was a little cover over this, but unfortunately it was so brittle that broke in the process of getting it out. So I'm just going to have to do without that. I'm only putting this back together again so I have a spare alternator down the track. It's not something I need immediately. But what I have to do is I have to feed on these brushes here as I put this back together again. It's a little bit tricky, but so I just used to have to poke a little bit around to feed these brushes over as we go. Yeah, it's a little bit awkward. Find a little poker thing here. I'll just give that a little bit of a... There we go, and we'll feed the next one over and in. There we go, that's in the right spot there. And all I need to do is put on these little screws all back together again. There's a couple of little tiny screws here, little ones. Now there was a lot of goo over those things, so I'm not going to bother. There's a lot of Celastic or something, alright, some caulking compound over that. I'm not going to bother with putting that back again. I'm just going to put this back together again. They're the two contacts that make contact there. That one, those two there. Okay, so now that should work. That's all spinning okay. Those brushes will adapt to the new surface in a very short space of time. Now the original cover goes where? That way. There, I believe. Somewhere there. Looks like there's a couple more things I have to do here. What is it? There's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. No, that's correct. There we go. That's back on. That one there doesn't need to be done up at all. That's just the one that takes the connector wire for the earth and what have you, the charging wire. That one I can leave loose, but still in the kit. These ones here. And of course I couldn't put that cover back on because it broke the one in the centre. But anyway, it'll be fine. It's only a spare that I'm keeping waiting, and if one of them, if I lose another alternator down the track, and only going to last me another 3 or 4 months and stuff like that, and I'll be finished with BMWs anyway. But it'll be a shame. I actually enjoyed working with BMWs, but I need a new car and I'm sick of working on these old ones, so there we go. So there's my alternator back together again with new brushes. I didn't bother with the bearings. They're working fine. It'll do the job for a considerable amount of time. That's probably the original brushes there. The car's probably done about 250,000 k's anyway, so a few more kilometres if I need it. It's only waiting there as a reserve anyway. I'll put this cover back on and have it waiting there in case I need an alternator down the track. And I'm Mark Wilson, and thanks for watching.